Cole Palmer does not play. We've just spent the whole week trying to decide whether to sell Palmer because of his price drop or whether to keep him on Sun Dream Team. It comes to the Friday night match and he gets an injury in the warm-up. So we now have a first look at how to use this new substitute feature on Sun Dream Team. It's really late on Friday night. I just had an idea that I should share with you the part of my How to Play Sun Dream Team video that I did earlier in pre-season, where we break down what the subs rule is and how to use it, because we can replace Cole Palmer by using this new subs feature. So just want to do a little intro and I'm going to take you straight to that segment from my How to Play Dream Team video. And if you do have any questions about the subs rule, do drop them in the comments below, and drop a like, subscribe if you're not already. I will try my best to get back to all your questions, but obviously it's going to be a really quick turnaround between this video and replacing Cole Palmer ahead of some of the weekend's games. Substitutions. Now this is completely new for everyone. So do you know what? It's new for me. I'm going to read it exactly how it sort of says it in the Dream Team rules. But there was also an important article that sort of got released. I think it was on, they posted it on Twitter. You'll find it in my sort of retweets. But also, if you just go to the main Dream Team page, they put their articles on there as well. They did clarify some more specifics on the substitutes rule. So this is completely new. Substitutions. You now have a substitute feature available to use 5 times per season, at a maximum of 1 substitution per game week. So it's available post deadline. So you know the way I said that as soon as the deadline passes, everything's locked in, your captaincy, your boosters, your transfers. This is the only exception. Substitutions happen post deadline. So this feature enables you to switch out a player who did not take part in his team's completed eligible match and replace him with a player who is yet to play in that game week. So Haaland, Friday night fixture, isn't in the team. You thought he was in, Pep hasn't said anything. The lineup comes out, there's no Haaland. He's not on the bench, he's nowhere to be seen. You could substitute him out. But only for someone who hasn't yet played in that game week. So it's a Friday night, so there's going to be plenty of other games to choose from, but you can't bring in a player from Man City because that game has to have had finished. So when available, a substitute icon will appear in the top left of your point screen and a list of available subs will appear. Now, I imagine that's going to be pretty much anyone. If it's Haaland, who's the example, but it says you may only substitute in a new player of equal value or less than the outgoing player. So you could do it for the same value or less, plus the value of unspent funds in your player budget. So if you've got plenty of money in the bank as well, you can combine that with the price of your Haaland to buy, if anyone is more expensive than Haaland. But obviously it'll be better in other examples. Your team value updated at the end of the game week will not be impacted by the player you sub in. So we just spoke about price changes. If you take Haaland out for Adom Solanke scores a hat-trick, does really well, you won't get Solanke's price rise because Solanke isn't going to be in your team any longer. Solanke will only be in your team for this game week. It's just like an emergency substitute. You'll still have Haaland for the next game week. Solanke's just in as a little sub, as a little emergency sub for that game week, but you won't keep Solanke, you'll keep Haaland. It won't matter Haaland's value because he wouldn't have played unless he did go on to play later on, but we'll come on to that. Note that there are a number of conditions of use. The player or players you wish to switch must not have taken part in any match during that game week. You can substitute a player right up until the kickoff of his team's next eligible match. So again, the Haaland example in a double game week. So City have got 2 games. They have to have played the first match and finished the match for you to be able to take Haaland out. But you can still make your decision on whether to take him out or not before the second match. Soon, if he takes part in the second match, then you're stuck with Haaland. So I think that's not too bad. So as long as your player doesn't play any minutes in their match, you can take him out for someone who hasn't yet played. I think that's fine. I think when it gets a little bit trickier, and we had a few questions about this on our Dream Team Tonic podcast the other day before they clarified it in a separate article. If you apply the substitute feature, your vice captain feature will be deactivated for that game week. Now, they chucked that in there, but then didn't really mention anything else about the captaincy. They have since gone on to clarify in a separate article sort of the reason for this. So if you substitute your captain out, so Haaland is your captain, let's say Haaland captain, Salah vice. If you sub your captain out, your sub who you bring in now becomes your captain. We wasn't sure whether your vice would get promoted to be captain, for example, but no. Salah doesn't come in if you sub Haaland out. If you sub Haaland out, let's say for Solanke again, Solanke is now your new captain and your vice captain gets deactivated. One thing I'm not sure on is, could you potentially, we've got a Discord community for our patrons of the Dream Team Tonic podcast, and we were chatting about it in there. Is there a possibility, and maybe I haven't thought this through properly, but is there a possibility you could potentially have Haaland captain, doesn't play, Salah might be the next game and he's your vice captain, wait and find out, does Salah do really well? If Salah scores a hat-trick and Haaland isn't playing or hasn't played, should you just wait it out and get double points off Salah and just don't make a sub, and then you'll get Salah as your captain? Whereas if you subbed out Haaland for Solanke, automatically your vice gets wiped out and Solanke now becomes your captain. That's one thing you might find some holes in that, but that could be a way of scoring a few more points. Another stipulation is you cannot use a substitute if you have applied a booster for that given game week. So if you've played any of these boosters, 12th man, max captain, goal bonus, we'll come on to them in a minute, you can't make a sub in that game week. So do make sure that you're picking nailed players in your booster weeks. Your substitute must form part of an eligible team formation. You cannot, for example, select a fourth striker. In a 12th man scenario, you can do whatever you want, but in a substitute scenario, it has to be someone that fits into your team's formation. And unlike some of these other things like boosters, captaincy, transfers that you can reverse up until the deadline, because of substitutions happening after the deadline, as soon as you lock in a substitution, they are locked in for good.